Mi gente, you already know who it is. It's the radioactive Papi Danny Limelight, the United Wrestling Network World Heavyweight Champion. And make sure you tune into the Alliance blog every week. You heard it here first. Straight from Papi.
Can you believe that there are some people in this world that did not tune in to the Alliance Vlog podcast? Shame on you! Shame on you! My name is Indie, and I'm one half of the NWA Women's World Tag Team Champion. And I'm Kiki Page, the other half of the NWA World Women's Tag Team Champion. And you better go listen to the Alliance Vlog, what is it called? The podcast, period. Or you're ugly. Period. Power approved.
Podcasting out of Alliance Wrestling Studios, pontificating on pro wrestling, the innovator of talk NWA, he is
What is up, everyone? Welcome to the Alliance Blog Podcast, a presentation of alliance-wrestling.com, the premier source for news and information for the National Wrestling Alliance. I am joined today by what I consider SoCal royalty. Yes, my friends, we're talking about a guy who's held cruiserweight championships, lightweight championships, tag team championships. He really was a stalwart of the junior heavyweight division here in Southern California. And as I was talking to a friend today, I kind of mentioned how you were kind of like, for Southern California, like if someone could have a good match with you, like you would see them kind of take that next step in the world of professional wrestling. Of course, been wrestling. You got into wrestling around 2008 with Jesse Hernandez at Empire Wrestling Federation, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Jesse,
a little bit before that. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I think it was 2007. But yeah, it was. Yeah, Jesse's school. That's where I started. I started because I was on a date with my wife and at the time my girlfriend. And no, we were married. And she goes, "Hey, why don't you try this? Because you've always talked about it. Why don't we go to the training right now?" And I'm like, "Are you serious? Like, this is on a whim. This is like it was her idea on a whim to do it." And I was like, "If you're okay with that," so I grabbed my wrestling shoes and we went, and it was just from then on. I was addicted.
So I'm guessing then you had a background in amateur wrestling, high school wrestling.
High school wrestling, yes. I wrestled for John W. North High School in Riverside, California. I was you saw me when I started, man. I was definitely at 103s. I was in the 103 weight class when I started in high school. So, you know how skinny I was when I started wrestling.
That's the Huskies, right?
Yeah, the Huskies, yeah.
I drive by that school like every day when I go to work.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I wrestled varsity 103s there for a couple of years, yeah.
So did like all 4 years, 3 years, or what was
I did 2 years. I did probably 1.5 because I started to slip with my grades, so they had no choice but to throw me off the team and take my letter away. Oh. But it was just one of those things that, like, once you got a taste for that physicality and like that competition, you want to keep doing that,
brother. Yeah, from a guy like, look, I don't look it now, but I used to be a svelte like 152, so I know what it's like. I wrestled all 4 years and was not very good at all, but I tried.
There you go. You were there.
I did the Watts Summer Games, which was an eye-opening experience. That was where like all the good kids went to go to wrestle and then like go on to college. I went and got my ass kicked, and then I never wrestled again. So. Hey,
but you know what, dude? You battled. You had that sense of the camaraderie with the team. You had that. That's all that matters.
What was your favorite move to do in high school wrestling?
The 3/4 pin. So like, you know how like you have to you start off in referee's position with the guy on bottom? Yeah. Yes, exactly. So I would wrap my ankle around his, reach under and pull his neck down just to roll him over and pin him that way. That was my favorite. That was my go-to. That was my that was my big go-to because a lot of people didn't leave all fours.
I know a lot of people it has different names. Our school, we called it the lateral. So you'd get the overhook, underhook, and
yep.
Flip them. Oh,
you kind of throw your shoulder underneath their chest and try to like lift them up. Yeah, dude, that was my favorite. I would always go for that.
I did it so hard my senior year at CIF that I threw my back out, and that was
that must have hurt.
yeah, it is what it is. I mean,
Oh
like,
man.
you wrestled, everything
Yeah.
hurt. Like I don't
Oh, dude,
remember,
yeah,
I don't
absolutely.
remember not hurting. So your bride convinces you to go and try out for Jesse Hernandez, go to the School of Hard Knocks down in San Bernardino. Like, tell me about your experience. Was it intimidating to walk into that avenue? I know back then, I think trying to think who was around then. TJ was still around, I'm assuming, right?
Well, TJ was around, but it was very rare. When I walked in, and there was this a gentleman that was there from Canada who was really huge. A smaller guy that wrestled with this guy. I think he was from Canada, but I think he was more from Oregon, where the other guy wrestled from. But the person I met first and foremost was a wrestler that I was married to when I first started, named Jeremy Yeager.
Yeah.
Jeremy and I hit it off big time because we were both the same size. We both could work each other pretty well, and it was very intimidating because I knew how many stars came out of that school.
Yeah.
I knew how many people with notable. I did my research.
Okay.
A funny story about that, me doing my research, was the first time I met Ryan Taylor. I told him, "Hey, I want to be you," and he goes, "Oh, you go to Covina shows?" And I go, "No, I've never seen you wrestle in my life, but I know you're a 2-time cruiserweight champion, and I know you have so much respect and stuff. I want to be you." And he goes, "Oh, okay." He was like really weirded out by that. And then I caught a snapmare and a stiff kick to the back, and I'm like, "Oh, okay, we're playing that game. That's great."
So that was a good introduction.
Yeah,
Taylor was kind of the man at EWF for a very long time.
absolutely. A guy who at that time he was kind of I mean he would appreciate me saying this. He was kind of in his jerk phase,
Yes.
and he didn't really want to talk to people and whatever. But I would constantly be right there, being like, "Hey, man, I want to learn from you. I want to work with you. I want to work with Hook. I want to work with people close to you. I want to learn from you." And Ryan Taylor quickly kind of enjoyed working with me every time he got a chance to.
For those of you who are watching, when he said Hook, he's not talking about Taz's kid.
Oh no, I'm sorry, Hook Bomberry.
Yeah,
Hook Bomberry.
And then Ryan Taylor at that time, he was the NWA Heritage Champion, very cocky. Yeah. I know that at more than one occasion pissed off the promoters when he was champion. So he's definitely grown a lot as a human being, and I love that guy. I kind of wish.
Me too, man. It's beautiful to see, because he became like I said, he was very intimidating to talk to when I first walked in. But now he's one of my best friends, and my kids call him Uncle Taylor. So it's a beautiful thing. It's beautiful to watch a human being grow like he has.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, he knows he was a jerk.
Well, when you see him next, tell him that J-Cal said hi, because I love that guy, and
I definitely will.
He's one of the dudes who I really helped. I didn't help, excuse me. He really helped put SoCal on the map, and I kind of wish he get more credit for all his accomplishments while he was working. But let's get back to you. When you walk into the School of Hard Knocks, how did you find Jesse Hernandez? How did his personality come off to you when you first met him?
To be honest, okay, he had a salty relationship with somebody who called themselves a promoter in Southern California. A guy who ran a very terrible Fed, I guess. A guy who put an ad in Rolling Stone magazine for wrestlers in the Inland Empire. A guy named Joe Cantrell. But I mean, if you want to bleep his name, you can.
No, it's fine.
That was the first time my wife hit him up for me, and that was the first time I ever got into a wrestling ring. And my wife, God bless my wife, dude, because she was the type of person that could see things that, I'm happy to be in a ring. I'm happy to just be in a ring and, get some work in. But my wife's going, "This isn't legit." My wife's like, "You need to get out of here. This is not a good place. Don't make friends with this guy. Don't do this." And I told Jesse that the first time I showed up, and he didn't have to take a chance on me, but he did.
Yeah.
Because this guy had screwed him over so much, and I just dropped that name, and he could have told me to leave. but he
Yeah.
didn't. You
Yeah.
know,
And
and
for
yeah.
those who are listening right now, we have a couple people in the chat. Back then there weren't a ton of places to train in Southern California. There was a school in San Diego, there was a school in San Bernardino, there was a few schools in Los Angeles, but nothing really like adjacent to the Inland Empire that wasn't Jesse Hernandez. And the thing about Jesse is he's kind of one of those legendary promoters. We talk about a lot of the wrestlers that came from Jesse Hernandez school. You guys might recognize like Rocky Romero, Ricky Reyes, TJ Perkins. Even though Frankie Kazarian started elsewhere, he got a lot of training there at EWF. And then we mentioned Ryan Taylor, and of course Scorpio Sky spent a lot of time there as well.
Yes.
There was
Oh
a
my
lot
God,
of talent
Sky.
that came. I just saw him on what was it, Sunday, 2 Sundays ago at Championship Wrestling TV taping.
Oh,
And,
Sky is dude. Sky is the person, man. Don't get me talking about Scorpio Sky because I'll cry.
all right, then he bought me an energy drink, which he totally didn't have to. I was like, you're just shooting the shit.
That's the type of dude. Okay, real quick. Sky is probably one of the best friends I have ever made in wrestling because after my wife passed away, Sky got her GoFundMe link to everyone, and he was the reason that my wife had the funeral she had. Honest to God, I had people who had never met me donating money to my wife's funeral. Cody Rhodes donated money. A lot of other people in AEW at the time donated money. He just told a friend of mine, get me the link and I'll get this to the right people. And I remember calling Sky that night, the same night, crying, saying, my kids love you. I love you so much. You didn't have to do this. And he goes, what do you mean I didn't have to do this? This is the very least. And Sky long story short, I love Scorpio Sky very much, and I would do anything for him. Bro,
you and I are on the same page with that. I guess that's kind of why we get along so well. Good dude. And I didn't know that story, and that just
a wonderful, solid dude that you've never heard a bad story about because he's always so genuine and always so kind to everyone.
The times I have heard people try to talk shit about Sky, I'm quick to shut it down. Like, nope.
Oh, absolutely, and that's all jealousy. That's all jealousy.
Yeah,
that's all that is.
But yeah,
sorry, I'm tearing up.
No, but I was too, man. I had met your wife a few times. I met her at AWS. She was a sweetheart.
She was 100% behind me in my wrestling endeavors, and rest in peace, Tiff. I love you.
Yeah, she was one of a kind, man.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about more. Let's talk about your wrestling. Let's talk about
why. I'm kidding.
We spent a lot of time. I mean, you spent a lot of time at EWF, but that certainly wasn't the only place you wrestled. I mean, I was looking at some of the promotions you were working for today, and I mean, we're talking. Of course, EWF was like your home location, but you're down in San Diego, SoCal Pro, working with New Wave Pro Wrestling. I know you worked for our pal Lalo in Pro Wrestling Coalition. You worked at Mach 1. You basically were working a lot of those at the time. They were all affiliated through the NWA by way of Dave Marquez and Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. Yeah. Then NWA, or I guess it was NWA Pro back then. Let's talk about your branching out from EWF. Well, sorry, I feel like Chris Farley right now. Wasn't it cool when you did that?
No, please, by all means.
Let's get back to EWF though. Like, how long? Obviously, when you train to become a pro wrestler, the idea is you want to get in that ring. You want to get in there as quickly as you can. But of course, you want to go in there when you're qualified to. How long did it take for you to go from training to actually working your first show? And do you remember where you were for your first show?
Oh, yeah. I was in Covina, California for my first show. I was there to help set up the ring. But before that, it took me 7 months to get asked to get put on a show, 9 months to get put on a show because I couldn't afford gear.
Oh, shit.
The late great Cincinnati Red, love him to death. That man. Once he saw me train, he wasn't at my first training, but I think my third training he was at. Once he saw me, he wanted to work with me, and he would not get in the ring, but he'd tell me, "Hey, try this with your left hand, try this with your right arm, whatever. Let's see how this looks." and he would have all these ideas for me. And he told me to look up a lot of wrestlers that I looked up to that I emulated. He's like, this guy would fit you. I think this guy would fit you. And he told me to watch them. And he's like, dude, you were ready like 3 months ago. It's just that I need to know that you have gear and that we could, come up with a name. And yeah, I thought they were going to come up with my name. That was really funny. But but no, it was Cincinnati Red who told me I was ready before. And then one day I show up to help set up the ring in Covina, and they're like, hey, do you want to wrestle? And I'm like, of course. Nervously, of course. Okay, well, we want to have you and Jaeger, and here's what's going to happen, blah, blah, blah. You know the rest.
Yeah. Was that, I can imagine the nerves were there, but like, did you have the same, because I know when I wrestled in high school, like one of the two things that I always knew that it was going to be a good match is if I had to take a piss before. If I knew I had to go to the match having to go to the bathroom, I knew that it was going to be a good match. And
always.
The butterflies, like I never lost the butterflies all 4 years. Always.
Yeah.
Did you know that going into Covina that night? I mean, obviously you didn't know you were going to, when you got there, that you were going to work, but once you found out that you were going to be on the card, did you get the butterflies? Did you have to go to the bathroom? I mean,
oh yeah, man, the nervousness set in big time. I remember just, okay, well, I've done this in training a million times. We're going to work on this. We're going to talk about it. Cool. And it's Jaeger. It's the guy I'm most like comfortable with, that I've been working with in training. I've been his little stunt dummy for the entire time because he already debuted.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, cool. I'm okay. So this is how, like, I couldn't tell that the butterflies had hit me, but he did right away. So we lock up in that match, and I start fidgeting real fast. He goes, hey, calm down, relax. And I'm like, hey, calm me down, because he went such into father mode because he was just so soothing. And he's like, hey, relax. Here we go, okay? And I'm like, oh, okay, Mr. Rogers, what are we doing next? Dude, like it was perfect. He made me feel very comfortable. The butterflies went away after that, but the butterflies before my entrance for the very first time were almost diarrhea inducing. You know what I mean? Like just kind of like so scared and so like, hey, nobody is going to know who you are. This is the first time they're going to see you. What do you do to get them to pay attention to you, to like you?
Yeah.
And Lalo would always make fun of me because there was a couple of shows afterwards where he did my entrance just as a joke. And he's like, please like me. Please like me. So it was just, it was good times. It was nerve wracking.
Did Jaeger hit you with that tranquilo guapo?
No. No, it's just I was like fidgeting so much on that lockup, and he's like, "Hey, whoa, relax. Hey, all right, calm down. We're good." So it was great.
So I imagine you had a lot of moments at Covina, but was that like the most memorable, or do you have another moment that was just like changed your life?
Oh man, that's a good question. Were you there when Liger Rivera turned the heel on me?
No.
Okay.
You know what? I didn't get into most of your stuff until you got to AWS, and I'm talking.
Oh, there we go. That's a conversation.
We'll get there. In New Wave, I was there for the last
New Wave stuff.
Show.
Oh, so New Wave was a whole wonderful place. But I feel like my biggest moment in Covina was.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry?
We're talking over each other. And the first place I ever saw you at was the Columbia Square Studios for the NWA TV taping. We'll get to that.
Lord, good times. When I got knocked out by Lance Cade and Trevor Murdoch, right?
Yeah. I was on bated breath there. I was like, oh, dude, he's dead. Oh,
dude, okay, on that story real quick, I was. I remember being loopy and them pulling me in the back, and my wife's sitting right there, so my wife's not really happy that I decided to wrestle those guys. Well, not decided, but I was put in that match.
Right.
But everybody's backstage, and everybody's checking on me, and I remember the first coherent thought I had was, did I botch? Because I thought I fell on Trevor Murdoch, and legitimately, ask Lalo this, my first words were, is Trevor Murdoch okay?
Amazing.
I thought I fell on him. like butt wise, like just completely put all my weight on his head,
Yeah.
and everybody starts laughing at me, and I'm like, why is everybody laughing at me? What did I miss? You know what I mean? But yeah, that was the first time you saw me. Wow, that's cool.
Yes, this is kind of an NWA themed podcast. I mean, I do.
Oh yeah, the NWA was amazing.
We'll get to more NWA talk in a minute, but let's finish up with Covina because I am interested in hearing your best moment there.
I feel like my best moment was I pretty much got to plan almost. I got to like be creative on a lot of the stuff that happened between me and Liger Rivera, and that was a lot of fun because it was I won the Great Goliath Battle Royal that year, and then that night he turns on me because it's supposed to be his moment, blah blah blah. Yeah. And then that year my son was just born, so we did this whole thing where like, I'm not gonna fight you, you're my family, and I love you very much, and blah blah blah. And as I'm walking out, he calls me a little bitch, and then this was the line I gave him. I told him, and he goes, I'm pretty sure your son's gonna be just like you. So I turned around and I ran back to the ring, and I start beating his ass. And it was a really good feud. When I beat him for the EWF American title, that was my moment. That was my holy crap, I'm here. Like, everybody in Covina is okay. I don't want to say I'm over here, but shit, they care. You know what I mean? No, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. It's YouTube. I mean, as long as we don't go on like tirades, right? But
oh yeah,
you were over in Covina, man. I mean, you could say that. Covina,
thanks, man. I appreciate that.
Covina was a hot crowd. I know that they still
very passionate crowd.
Yeah. Yes. A very passionate crowd. It's almost like the home of the EWF. I know that it's a San Bernardino-based promotion, and a lot of the events are in the Inland Empire, but Covina just seems like home for EWF, for Jesse Hernandez. So to get that reaction from that crowd, I'm sure that was really good for you. Yeah,
it was amazing because it's where I made my debut, and then a few years later they care that much, and it was really cool to see.
Yeah. So this is the question that I don't always ask, but I'm curious because I know there was a point in time, especially in Southern California, where everything was isolated and talent. If you worked EWF, you weren't working like a Millennium Pro Wrestling, or if you worked UPW, you're not working for XPW and things like that. When you were in EWF, I mean, you had spent some time there, but you started to branch out. Was that a conversation that you had with Jesse? Did you have to get his blessing to start looking for other work, or is that something he suggested to you?
In the beginning, it was a conversation because it was like, hey, well, if you're important over here, we want to make sure you're important over there too. It seemed like a very loving conversation to have, and a very like nurturing, like, hey, we want to protect your character.
Yeah.
But at some point, it just seemed like, well, no, you're with us. And I'm sitting there going like, well, how am I supposed to branch it? How am I supposed to get my name out there if I don't branch out? I remember one instance that there was a tag team tournament that was that happened in Mach 1.
Yeah.
That natural selection one, that Sean Ricker and Ryan Taylor and I were supposed to be the EWF team on that. But I was told to back out. So I was guilt tripped into backing out. So
does that now? It's been a while since that's happened, obviously, and I know there's a lot of fond memories at EWF, but does that still leave a bad taste in your mouth?
It does, just because that's not how it should be, I mean, like, if a wrestler's ready to spread their wings and try to like, hey, well, maybe I could be useful over here, then why not, But, sadly, this is a money-run business. This is a business, it's a business.
Yeah.
It's a business, and you have to do what you have to do to protect it. I get that. But this person can help you along the way if they get to outstretch, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just that. And it sucks, but you know what? It's something that everyone has to deal with. It sucks now that my son wants to start training, and I have to try to warn him about that. But but I mean, yeah, it sucks then too.
let's get. I want to talk more about your son and his journey and his path. But let's talk about you branching out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Obviously, you spent a lot of time working up and down the West Coast. Like the aforementioned, you went down to San Diego working with both New Wave Pro Wrestling and
Yes.
SoCal Pro. You did do some matches in Mach 1 eventually. You
Yeah.
were working APW, which I don't know if this audience might not be familiar with APW, but at one point APW was like the Ring of Honor before Ring of Honor. It was hallowed ground.
An experience.
Sacred ground. It was, when you talk about Southern California wrestling, even though it's a NorCal area, you have to recognize what APW did for pro wrestling in the early 2000s. What did it mean for you to get an opportunity to wrestle there? I mean, so many legendary wrestlers came out of APW.
Man, brother, it meant luck. It was a sure force of luck. So my wife had bought me 49ers tickets for our anniversary.
Nice.
And I hit them up that weekend saying, hey, we're in town this weekend. Is there any possible way? And Roland Alexander, God, our rest in peace, Roland, such a great guy. He himself and Marcus Mack, the booker at the time, I don't know if he still is, they messaged me back saying, we saw your stuff. We would love to have you that weekend. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And I wrestled their top guy, Dylan Drake. And it was really dope. And they thought I did a good enough job to invite me back plenty of times. And it was one of those things, man. I grew another family, you know what I mean? Because I'm so used to everybody. I see everybody in the SoCal locker rooms. I see some NorCal wrestlers travel down, and I saw them again up there. And I'm sitting there going, like, these guys are amazing. There's so many guys I couldn't wait to wrestle. I couldn't wait to work with. And in APW, I got to work with a lot of them. I am forever grateful for that. Marcus Mack and Roland Alexander, God bless you guys.
Yeah, man. And a lot of people, again, when you talk about California, everyone just that's a state on the West Coast, but it's a big gap. I mean, it's a
giant state.
Drive.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a 9-hour drive, and I'm, making those drive with the people I made it with. That was fun.
Who did you go on the ride?
I don't know if you knew of a stable I was involved in when Battleground was around called The Working Dead.
Yeah, you and Tyler.
Tyler Bateman, B-Boy, and Ray's, and it was just us. It was just us driving up there, and it was, oh my God, man, the good times we had there. Those were great people.
Ray's is one of my favorite people in Southern California wrestling.
I'm so proud of her, man, because she started off as a manager, and she started off as, not super physical, but now I've wrestled her. She's one of the most physical people I've ever been hit by. Probably my third hardest hit ever.
I told her this. I was the first time I remember seeing her was at that New Wave Pro Wrestling show, the final show. And I was like, oh God, this lady's obnoxious. I was like annoyed, right? I was like, God, but like in my head, like in the moment, I was like, she's annoying, man. God, I hated her. And then I thought, well, I guess she's
doing her job. Yeah, absolutely.
From me. And years later, like I'm proud to call her a friend. She's been on the podcast a few times.
Dude, she's so freaking amazing, man. And I'm proud of her, and sky's the limit for her.
Yeah. Well, she's working with WOW now, and she's been putting in time there. And I tell her, like, I don't get to see you wrestle enough anymore. When let me know when those indies do come up, because I would love to see you wrestle again.
Oh man, she for being trained by as many people as she's been trained and have had their hand in her training. She reminds me of Bateman a lot in the way that they're very unordinary. It's not a wrestler you could prepare for.
Yeah.
And that is such a beautiful thing that I've always loved about Bateman. Even like way back in the day, I always said Tyler Bateman is Southern California's best kept secret.
Agreed.
And when he exploded, I loved it. I was so happy for him. And Ray's is the exact same way. She's very, what's the word I'm looking for? Eclectic. She's very eclectic with her moveset. And it's beautiful to watch, because I always feel like you learn something new every time.
One of the things, and this is your interview, but I have to mention, one of the things that I love about Bateman is when you watch him wrestle, it feels so realistic. Like you'll watch him work his hand, like he hit somebody, and then he's selling that he hurt his hand on the on the punch.
Because he did. Oh, because Bateman hits, and that's where I learned. That's where I learned. Honest to God, I had a match with him at Lalo's thing, Pro Wrestling Coalition. I had commission. Sorry, I had a match with him, and the second hardest I've ever been hit was by Tyler Bateman, and it looks just like a little soccer kick, but I couldn't breathe, and I love him for that, and that's why I learned. I used to tell my some of my favorite opponents this. After that match, I told them, hit me because I'm going to hit you. Yeah. I'd rather this be real than look terrible on camera. Sure. So hit me because I'm going to hit you.
Now, do we use the term snug for that, or how is that?
You can use snug, but on the same note, here's the thing: we're both going to be in there. We can work safely, but at some point, raw emotion does take over when you're in there.
Sure.
And if you hit me a little harder, I'm not going to begrudge you one bit. You're just going to get it back. So let's just go. Let's have a good time. And one of my best opponents that I could say that I've beat the crap out of, and I've beat the crap out of me, was a guy named Brandon Parker in EWF.
King of Strikes.
The King of Strikes. Me and Brandon Parker would tee off like in the worst ways, where people thought we had heat, and then at the end, when he comes to the curtain, we're hugging, and I'm like, hell yeah, that's what we did. You know what I mean? People thought we had heat because we would hit each other so hard.
I kind of felt like that guy had heat with a lot of people, but maybe it was just the way I watched him in the ring.
It's just the way he worked. But then there was one time where I was watching a conversation with him and Scott Lost. The great Scott Lost, a guy who was on my list and then he fucking retired. Where he was worried that this move was going to hurt somebody, and Scott goes, or you could tell that guy, stop being a little bitch, because this is a physical sport. And Scott talked him into that, and you kind of saw that weight lifted from his shoulders, and I'm like, wow, that's really cool. That's really cool for a veteran to tell him.
Yeah. Scott, I think again, talk about underrated talents in SoCal. Scott Lost was one of those guys, and I know, he doesn't get a whole lot of the credit for the success of Pro Wrestling Guerrilla, but he branched.
He was the success of PWG. I think the thing that made me want to pursue independent wrestling was there was a YouTube video that's really, really old, and I'll swear to this to everybody. What made me want to be in the Southern California indie wrestling scene was it was a hype video of the rivalry between Scorpio Sky and Scott Lost.
Scorpio, boom, bye,
dude. Yes, and like that's when they unmasked him and everything, and it was beautiful. And I was like, man, one day I hope to at least work in a room with those guys, and now they're my friends. It's pretty cool. But I never got to work Scott, dude, and that makes me so mad.
I think, like, I respect his decision, right? Because he said, okay, look, I have till this much time, and then once this time hits, I'm gonna call it a day.
And he stuck to it. To it.
How many people do you see like who retire, come back, retire, come back, retire, come back, retire, come back?
Oh, a million. Yeah.
And he said, nope, that's it for me. I'm good. And
he was happy. He was fulfilled.
Yeah. And he had a pretty good career too. I mean, he went to Japan. He headlined a lot of the Pro Wrestling Guerrilla events. He held tag titles. He took them around the world. You can't say that he didn't have a good career.
Absolutely not.
I think we all wish it was a little bit longer, but
and brother, he was so smooth. How smooth was Scott? Jesus, man, that elbow, that slam dunk elbow that he always did, often imitated, never duplicate. No one can do it like him. Scott was the guy that once me and him became friends, he was my constant text in the middle of at a show. I would constantly text him and be like, hey, what do you think about this? Blah, 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 blah. And he would text me back. And yeah, dude, him and Mr. Amazing.
Yes.
They were very very hands-on, but Mr. Excitement. I'm sorry. Why did I say Amazing? Mr. Excitement. But that's the AWS conversation. We'll talk about that when we get there.
we're gonna get there quickly. Just to wrap up, New Wave. That's when you started teaming with Bateman and B-Boy, right? Was that New Wave?
No, that wasn't New Wave. That was Battleground Pro Wrestling, where
Battleground?
we
Okay.
put that group together, and it was my brainchild, and I loved it because I was like, I love these people, I love seeing them, I want to work with them, and they get creative. They let me have the responsibility to tell them that, and everybody was on board. So that was a lot of fun. But New Wave Pro Wrestling itself was one of my funnest places to work. The guys who ran it were very, very good guys, and they listened, and that was awesome.
It was a promotion for the boys, ran by the boys. I mean, like
Yeah.
they were workers themselves, so
Yeah, they were phenomenal workers too, guys to learn from. And
Anchors Away.
Anchors Away had been around forever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Good times. One of my first EWF shows where I sat in the crowd was helping carry Ryan Stone because he slipped on water and hurt his knee on his entrance.
Was that
Walking
legit?
him back. No, it was legit.
Oh,
He was
no.
supposed to wrestle a tag match. He slipped on water, and me and RJ carried him back, and that was the funniest effing thing in the world
Man.
to us at the time. Not to
Yeah,
him right now, but when I send this to him, he'll laugh about it.
He's still pissed that he never won the SoCal Uncensored Tag Team of the Year. He holds me responsible for that. I'm like, hey man, there's a committee. They vote on it. It's not me alone. There's a whole bunch of people.
Yeah, it's not just you. That's not fair.
All right, let's get to let's talk about your time in the NWA. At the time, Dave Marquez was kind of like he kind of came out of nowhere. People don't know it, but he started off doing stuff with UPWs, doing stuff with XPW. Then lo and behold, he starts promoting wrestling on his own, and he's the NWA. As far as California is concerned, he's the National Wrestling Alliance. They're going big time. They get the studio. They're doing television tapings. Even before they did the TV tapings in Hollywood, they were doing TV tapings like in San Bernardino. They were doing TV tapings all over the place. They were doing tapings in Vegas too, I believe. Did you ever go to any of those Vegas tapings or no?
No, Vegas tapings, no. I did the San Bernardino ones that were at the roller rink. That was really cool.
Yeah, I was at that one too.
Yeah, that one was a really cool one. Yeah, and then I did just whatever. I was there as an extra for everything else that was the original Hollywood tapings.
How was it working for David? Were you hands-on? Was he hands-on with you a lot, or were you talking to guys like Cincinnati Red and the other guys?
Dave wasn't really hands-on with me per se. He would come tell us, what we were doing. Okay, cool. This is what we're doing. But he would give us our points. This is what you're doing. This is how everything's going to be done. Okay, cool. Not a problem. We'll do that. But it was mostly like other wrestlers that were hands-on because, like my name at the time had a little bit of like buzz, a little bit, very tiny bit. So I had wrestlers come and check on me that like weren't my friends yet, which was really cool. So I had like the Young Bucks come, hey, so what do you got planned? What's going on? And, me and RJ had to go lose as a team to the Skull Crushers, who were the NWA Tag Team Champions at the time. My favorite thing about that entire thing was Cincinnati Red trying to get me in trouble. As we're walking back to do the entrance to get our asses kicked, royally kicked by the Skull Crushers.
Right.
So Cincinnati Red looks at me and he goes, hey, Caddy, don't take no shit. I'm sorry, what? I'm gonna take everything they're gonna throw at me.
And those dudes were big. And anyone in the chat who isn't familiar with those guys, think of like a modern day Road Warriors. Keith Walker and Rash Brown, big dudes. And
they hurt some people, but on the same note, they were very, hey man, without you guys, we wouldn't look as good as we do. Thank you so much for doing that. And it was really cool, to be around a positive experience like that, and then learning and watching Dave do his thing behind the camera. It was so positive, and it was so okay, we all just want to do our best. So it was it would psych you up a little bit, hey, let's all just do our best. Hell yeah, let's do this.
And you were there for that match, and then of course the match with Lance Cade, rest in peace, Trevor Murdoch.
Yeah.
Now you mentioned that you got knocked out in that match, but those guys were in WWF just a few years, or WWE just a few maybe months before that match happened.
Yeah. Yeah.
Was that a thrill for you to be able to say hey, I got in the same ring as some of these guys that are on Monday Night Raw?
Oh hell yeah, man! I was a big fan. I love a good cowboy gimmick, and they had that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No, don't get me wrong. My favorite movie in the world is Tombstone. I love a good cowboy gimmick, but but watching them plan things with us, and I don't know to this day if it was just a rib, because there were a couple things that were hey, we want to, hey, you're little enough, I want to do this with you, I want to do this with you, and then when I got tagged in, they just beat the crap out of us, and I'm like, okay, cool, that's cool. I remember one of the things I heard was after I got pinned was oh, just another day at the office, and they high-fived.
Damn.
And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. That's special. Cool. I'm you know what? Hey, who can say they got knocked out by you guys? It's cool. A lot of people, but yeah.
Well, I mean, hey, in your defense, you got to be in the ring with two of the best
Hey,
tag teams.
exactly. And I'm not gonna say I didn't begrudge them one bit, but it was a good time. It was really cool to be hey, I wrestled them.
So let's transition from the NWA, because I know there was a lot of other things at the time. I know you're working SoCal Pro on and off, Battleground, but AWS, man, that was a wild time. I was at just about every one of those shows, and the fans just, man, they chewed you up. You were so over. You're a heat magnet there.
Brother, that was the first time I was Bart Kapitsky came to I think my son's second birthday party, and he talked to he was one of the last people to leave. It was just me, him, my wife, Peter Avalon, and Ray Rosas, who showed up later. We're sitting there drinking, eating food, whatever left over, and Bart goes, "Hey, do you want to be a heel?"
All right.
And I go, "I think I could do good as that because I'm a natural asshole." And he goes, "Let's try that." And from then on, yeah, it was, dude, the heat I got was amazing.
I'm going to mention somebody in the audience, and I'm sure you probably remember them as well. I don't know her name.
The girl with the dreadlocks, yes.
She was, oh, man, you pushed every single button she had. I thought she was going to jump in the ring at some points.
Oh, dude, it was great. And then when I won the AWS light heavyweight title, I was like, we did it. I said her name, and I was like, we did it. And I went to go try to hug her, and she hit me.
I thought there was times where I thought Tiffany might go knock her ass out, to be quite honest.
Nah, Tiff knows that it's a show and stuff, but it was funny, man. Dude, I was taught, I think, I don't want to say it was Sky who did this because he wasn't heel at the time, but I forgot who told me that find one person, focus on that, and everyone around them is going to hate you. It's going to grow, and it's going to grow. And I'm sorry, you're a girl wearing Beetlejuice tights and dreadlocks. You're my guy. I'm going with you. You're my horse.
And the thing is being in that audience, I'm there with my wife, and I'm like, oh man, this is kind of, it's kind of dicey, man. Damn, lay off her, bro. I
got in trouble and I pushed limits a little bit, but you know what? It made everybody hate me a little bit more. So I fed off that. Okay, well, pay to see me get my ass kicked. Maybe this guy will kick my ass. Who knows? Come on, come pay to see me.
One of the first things you said on this interview was, "It's a business. It's a business."
Amen to that, sir.
Sell tickets one way or the other. And,
amen.
And damn, again, being in that audience, it was yep, this guy gets it. This guy gets it. And,
dude, being a heel and having that be my real first opportunity to be me, be me. Because even I remember they rented the ring one time from Jeff Dino. They had that really small ring for SoCal Pro. And Jeff Dino walks up to me. He goes, "Wow, who knew a pissed off Cadillac is a good Cadillac?" And I go, yeah. I'm like, let me do what I'm doing. Let me do what I'm doing. And man, from being the flippy good guy that takes pictures of little kids to immediately being the opposite of that is so freeing
Yeah.
and so like in a way where you're like, this is a whole new area and I get to explore the open world on this video game.
Right.
I don't have to just do the mission. This is an open world. It's beautiful.
Did that momentum from AWS carry you to other places? Like, how did the transition go from AWS to other places?
Oh man, other places it's weird because I got so comfortable in just being a jerk, and I got comfortable in kind of being myself that when people wanted me to be a squeaky clean good guy and stuff, man, I forgot how to do it. I forgot how to do it, and I'm sitting there going, okay, cool. I'm gonna do some flips and high five everybody. No, they're smarter than that. That's not all it's gonna take anymore.
Yeah.
And dude, it was a relearning of what you have already learned. You know.
Going back to AWS, what did it mean to you? Like, yes, the celebration in the ring, that was fun and all of that, but what did it mean to you to win that title? Because again, like,
sure.
You grew up in EWF. That's where you started. But I feel like you hit your prime in AWS, and that Cadillac was certainly, to me,
Thank you, man.
That's the term gatekeeper I like to use for you, because I'd see you have lots of good matches at AWS, but that moment when you won the title, like, tell me about that.
Brother, that moment, it was just like Cincinnati Red and Bart had their faith in me. They're like, we love what you're doing. Here it is. And I sat there and they let me have the microphone afterwards. And I told Cincinnati Red and Bart Kabisky, I'm going to try really hard. Can I just cut this promo? And I told them promo I want to cut. They're like, okay, you can try. And do you remember the promo I cut after that?
Just a little bit. I mean, it was a long time ago, and I didn't buy the video, so I don't.
My idea was I wanted to talk to somebody, and I said, now you can't ignore me. Now you have to see that I'm on your level. Now you have to see and give me my respect and you're supposed to be my friend now. And my whole buildup was to try to get Scott Lost back into the ring. Because I was begging him at the time because we had just become really good friends. How we became friends, we played a 3-hour game of quarters where we both got really drunk. But no, I was trying. Like, it's not fair that you got to wrestle Parker and you got to wrestle other people that came up after me, but not me. It's not fair. I'm at my prime, like you said. I'm at my best right now. Like, it's not fair. I want you at a show. I want you to promote your comic book, and I want to slap you across the face. Like, he's like, no. I was like, I'm done. I'm like, please, Scott. Scott, dude, you can ask Scott how many times I begged him to be a part of something like that, and he wouldn't do it. But that title, because of Scott Lost holding it, because of Scorpio Sky holding it, because of the lineage of people that had held it, it meant worlds to me.
Yeah.
It meant the world to me. It was probably my WrestleMania moment, pretty much. Like, dude, like, those guys, so many established wrestlers who are everyone's favorite wrestlers have held that belt.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm not gonna lie, I probably teared up a little bit.
That's cool, man. Like, to me, I love hearing that you're a human being. You know, like, I mean, yes, I already know that you're a human being, but like, when wrestlers allow themselves to be a little bit transparent after the fact, you know, and say, hey, this was a special moment, because you are human. Yeah. You know, you are allowed to feel these things. And
absolutely.
If you went through it, had no feeling whatsoever, like a challenge, like, are you even a human being? Are you a robot? What's going on here? But it's cool to hear that, like, that moment was special to you.
Yeah, man. Thank you.
It
really was.
What other moments in your career, and because it spanned well over 10 years, what other moments were special to you that were significant?
Man. Just damn on the spot. Like, probably becoming a tag team wrestler for a little while with B-Boy. That to me right there, like, I discovered tag team wrestling was so much fun to play with because you had 4 bodies to play with instead of just 2.
Yeah.
And I really wanted that to be somewhere. I was really creative there. Like, no one will ever tell you, and I think Jarek remember Jarek Matthews?
Yeah.
I believe he told me one time. He's like, dude, you're so creative in the ring. He's like, I love that you come to a match with everything creative. Like, you have the whole match planned out with some creative stuff in there. And I'm like, yeah, well, I never liked coming without anything new. I want the crowd to watch my match and go, I've never seen that before. And wrestling, TJ was great at New Wave. The New Wave, the end show was amazing. It was my idea for Terex to do the cannonball to me, which was a bad idea, but it was my idea.
For those of you guys who don't know, Terex is like legit like 450. He's huge.
And it was my idea to
He
Kevin
moved
Owens.
really well for a guy that big. Like he's able
Very much
to
so. Terex is very underrated. That man could do some stuff. But just winning my first title, my first EWF Cruiserweight title, that was awesome. Obviously, it's gonna be my favorite thing. But also just like anytime I wrestled in front of my son and he got to sit there, you know what I mean? That was a very special time. So
your last match was in 2021 against Jack Cartwheel, excuse me. Jack Cartwheel, who you guys could see AAA. He challenged for the NWA World Junior Heavyweight title.
Proud of that kid, man.
He's on AEW. Tell me about working with him. That was your last match, right?
Yeah, it was. It wasn't supposed to happen. It wasn't planned. Because the month before, during COVID lockup, they brought in Hammerstone, and I was sitting there going, "Yo, we need to add somebody to this match because it doesn't make sense for me to pin Hammerstone at all, and he's not going to want to lose to me." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I was like, and Jack was just walking around like. They teach you when you go to a show as a wrestler, bring your gear because you never know what you get thrown on.
Right.
So I immediately grabbed Jack and took him to the promoters and said, "Hey, what if we make it a triple threat? You know, blah blah blah. That way Hammerstone can look strong. I'm sorry, am I giving too much away?
No, you're.
That way I can look strong, and I'll pin Jack on a fluke.
Yeah.
Boom. Did that. So then the next month it's automatic. Hey, no, Jack wants his shot. Cool. All right, let's do that. And we did that, and I got severely hurt.
Oh.
By a spot that was my own doing.
Oh no.
It's always my own doing that hurts me the most.
That's a metaphor for life.
Dude, straight up. Oh, don't. Oh no.
I meant me too, my friend. It wasn't just at you.
No, but it was my own thing that hurt me, and I was like, okay, cool. Well, let's end this. And dude, I just having a conversation with that guy's such a down to earth guy.
Yeah,
he's so down to earth, and he doesn't want to hurt nobody. He doesn't want to have anybody complain. He just wants to have a good time wrestling. And man, that's the attitude to have. You know what I mean? A lot of people don't have that attitude anymore because a lot of people have been like hurt and destroyed by the business. And you could tell that he's still having fun with it. And God bless him for that. I'm proud of that kid.
We're getting towards the end of this interview, and I can't believe it's already been almost an hour because it flew by. But you mentioned a couple times about your boy, how he got to watch you wrestle, and now he is interested in making that journey himself, that he wants to become a pro wrestler.
Yeah.
And you and I had talked offline about potential people you would want to train him. Would you care to reveal that on the live stream, or is that something you want to hold close to your vest?
No, I mean, I don't mind. Hopefully they don't mind. I talked to Lil Cholo because Lil Cholo is a big influence for me in the terms of learning that lucha style and the American style. And I want my son Ian to have a firm grasp of that. And I'm thinking there's almost no better teacher running the school now than Cholo.
Yeah.
And I hit him up, and he was like, "Okay, well, this is what we'll do. I'll let you." I told him, "I'll let you know because I'm hoping at the end of this month or in the beginning of next month, and we'll get the ball rolling." But a guy I helped train when he was just as littler than my son, he said that he'd be honored to help train my son is Adrian Quest.
Yeah.
Adrian Quest is a phenomenal talent. He's been a phenomenal talent since he was 11 years old. And I can't think of a better way for a young person to come in the ring with the tutelage of somebody who just entered just as young,
Yeah.
and who will help mold them into the wrestler they want to be, and help mold them into the smart business person that he is. Adrian Quest is a big inspiration too. I'm not gonna lie. I helped train him sometimes, and it was amazing. But watching him do what he does with his clothing brand and his wrestling and everything that he puts his mind to, it's a beautiful thing to see.
Getting an opportunity to wrestle in Mexico City for CMLL. I'll tell you, I got to go to Mexico City last year, and I was at 2 CMLL events. And it's crazy, man. It's crazy.
Yeah.
You're in the Ciudad. It's different, and it's beautiful. It's kind of weird to say, but it's beautiful. Like just the way that the culture treats the show, that the respect that the wrestlers get. The whole dynamic between the rudos and technicos. It's so weird. I wish that wrestling in the U.S. was a little bit more like that, and to know that Adrian Quest got to go there, like. When I was there, I got to see Rocky Romero, which was still kind of cool for me because that's a guy I've been watching for like 20 years. But, Adrian Quest ended up going later that year. I was like, damn, I wish there was another trip in it for me. But
oh, man. Quest is very awe-inspiring and very creative. And that's one of the things I respect and I love about him.
So with all that being said, I know Ian is still needs to get trained, still needs to get time in there. But will we see Chris Kadillak back in the ring at some point?
I'm working on it. Slowly but surely I'm working on it. But right now I gotta be full on dad mode. You know me. I gotta be full on dad mode and worker. But I mean, I'm trying. I have a bunch of good people in my ear about some certain things, but we'll see. I mean, hopefully in the future, yeah.
Well, number one, before you step back in the ring, I want you to come back on here and we could talk about it. Number two, I want to know where you step in the ring so I can be there to be a part of that experience because that'll be pretty cool. And I would like to be there for Ian's debut too. So let me know when that happens because
I appreciate that. Yeah, absolutely. We'll do.
Look, I'm just a guy with the microphone, right? But I feel like there's this in wrestling. There's so much rich history, and Southern California is no different than any other territory. And the stories, man, it's the stories that are exciting and compelling. And knowing people and seeing the growth of people, I mean, that's all what wrestling is, and it's beautiful. And so I would love to see El Hijo, to see your boy in the ring.
Oh, he wants nothing to do with the name Cadillac. He doesn't.
Oh, no.
Doesn't and that hurts my feelings. But on the same note, I get it. Blaze your own trail. But man, he doesn't want to be Ian Cadillac. He doesn't. I'm like, come on, man. I'm still trying to convince him, but we'll see.
We gotta keep working on it. Keep working on it. Yeah,
man, we'll do. Well, thank you, Antoine. Thank you. That it's been a pleasure to reminisce and talk. And I'm just glad that a lot of people didn't forget about everyone's favorite, the cure for the common wrestler, the dad bod god, Chris Kadillak. And I just want to say thank you very much, Jay. It's been an honor to just shoot the shit with you about wrestling, brother. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man, I'm grateful for it, and I appreciate your time. And like I said, this doesn't have to be the last time. We can do this.
No, it doesn't. We'll see, man.
All right, brother. Well, then, thank you so much for being here, and we'll see you next time.
Amen. All right, brother. You'll see you soon. You guys be safe. Have a great day.
All right, be well.
Bye.
Kadillak. That's my guy right there. I hope you guys enjoyed that interview. Of course, we'll be back tomorrow with the pre-party. I'll be here with Poyo Del Mar. You could join us then. And then, of course, Wednesday, the other Alliance guys will be in-house. What are we talking about, man? Because there ain't no NWA, that's for sure. But until next time, we'll see you at the matches. Thanks for checking out the pre-party, a presentation of Alliance-Wrestling.com. You should hit that subscribe button and join our community. I also want to remind you that we recap NWA Power every Thursday at 8 p.m. in the live stream. We try to stay social, so find us at the Alliance blog. And until